All right, welcome everyone. We're starting a new book. We're starting Today I Begin a New Life by Dave Blanchard. And we read the introduction and the prologue, the first section basically. And that took us through, if you're reading on a Kindle, that took it through a section he has titled My Journey, the Principles I Have Learned. It's through 51 on in the book, but we stop right before the art of connection. So tell me about some of this. Did any of the stories strike you or speak to you in any way, or what did you learn from this section? I mean, it's all stories about Dave.
My biggest thing is being more positive. I don't mean that in a bad way, but just, yeah. I guess maybe you're thinking that one small thing don't make a mountain out of a molehill, basically, because a lot of people have more problems than you do. Just kind of work your way through it, and eventually things are gonna, I guess, get better, you know?
Yeah.
But it's hard to see past that initial step, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, he always cited someone. I mean, his financial issues were pretty significant. I'm grateful I haven't had to live through that. Talk about having it all and going back to less than nothing. Crazy. But what were you going to say, Jamie?
I can't remember it was in the beginning. Was it Og Mandino's story about how he was an alcoholic and then?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That one was interesting to me. Just for him to be at such a low point and then to work his way back up again. I mean, some people don't ever get out of that low point and they just stay there. So that takes a lot of strength. I like that story.
Yeah. That is a pretty awe-inspiring story because we probably all know people who are not digging themselves out of it. I wonder when the story talks about him standing in front of a pawn shop and seeing that there's a gun for sale, and he thought about killing himself, and he had just enough money to buy the gun, and but he walked away from that. And I wonder if looking back on it, I'm sure he saw that as a pivotal moment. He writes about it in his other book, The Greatest Salesman, and talks about it. But I wonder, how often have we looked back at decisions we've made, and they've been pivotal decisions, and we can look back at those. Have you thought about that?
Yes.
And if I hadn't have done that, or if I had done this, things would have been very different. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, his was obviously a pretty significant thing. I mean, he'd lost his family, lost everything, living out of a car. So what else? What else did you see?
I really like whenever he quotes the Og Mandino quotes, I don't know what section. It's in the Miracles in Retrospect section. It's kind of like what Shiloh said, though, about forgetting the happenings of the day that is gone. The little things, they don't add up. But basically just forgetting the past. It's the past, and then just moving forward. I like that one. I highlighted that one.
Yeah, I like that. I like how he's pretty transparent with us. How you doing, Sarah? He's pretty transparent with us about how attached to his temporal things he was. I've heard him tell the story in person about his Rolex, and he talked about that a few times, how attached he was to it, and I don't know, was it as the way, I'm sure it was his perspective of how he was so always, flashing the Rolex or whatever. was that the way it really was, but that's how he felt, even at the time. Did it talk about here where he was driving in his car and he forgot his Rolex and he turned around and went back and got it?
Yes, it did.
And, you know, you think about different things that we do, maybe not a Rolex, but different things that we do that we're attached to, you know, how we look or how we, those kind of things, and how unimportant that is. I loved the story where he gives it away to his friend.
I was just going to say that. I just read that today.
That was pretty cool. And I'm sure his friend knew how much that Rolex meant to him. I do find it interesting that he still had his Rolex and his wife had already given up her diamond. That's how they bought their house. So
you know what I was? I said, you know what I was thinking whenever I was reading about him and all of his things? I was thinking he should take the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace class. He would have been a lot better off.
I think he's surpassed the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace class now.
I do too.
I've had a chance to meet him several times, and he's a pretty humble guy. And I love his son. His youngest son is really he's this huge 6'6" guy, and he's really awesome. I've had a chance to be around him a little bit too. So anyway, so what else? What else struck you in this?
In the very last part where he talks about the principles that he's learned, like he talked a lot about how his wife was strong through all of that, and how she, you know, she stayed calm and she tried to keep the kids busy. It never talks about her feelings, I guess, per se, but it was interesting to me how he finally started to notice that she was doing that and he was being more observant. And then when he went to watch her finish that marathon, how he just really had this new appreciation for her. And so his number 8 principles he's learned about: I will live more in the present, in the now, more aware of the sacrifices made by others, especially those made by my sweetheart. That struck me because I'm bad about noticing. Sometimes it's all about me all the time, and I forget to look around and look at all the sacrifices that my husband's making, or even my kids, you know, just to help out and stuff. And I think that is important, just to be more aware of the things that other people are doing. And like, I think he talks in here too about how to step into that other person. You know, he was angry with his friend, but once he stepped into, you know, his side of it and tried to understand how he was feeling. And a lot of times I'm terrible about that. I'm stubborn and I get it in my head what I want, and I forget to look at it from the other person's perspective. You know, be more understanding. I like that part too. Yeah.
That's a skill, though. I mean, that's a practice, something we need to practice. We just don't naturally do that.
Yeah,
I like that too. I think he really strives to do that, and that's one of the principles he will continue to teach us, is about stepping into someone else's shoes. So, what about you, ladies? Anything struck you? So what principles are you taking away? I mean, he obviously strategically shared particular stories with us in this section. And, you know, Jamie talked about being able to step into other people's shoes. I mean, obviously that's a great skill. What else did you see as a principle that perhaps you can take away from those stories? Why do you think he told us those stories? It's you know, I'm not necessarily comparing it to scripture, but obviously he was very strategic about choosing the stories he chose. Why do you think he shared those particular stories with us?
I guess everybody's different, and to me, each story had one little piece, maybe a little bit of you in each one of them, and that you could tie that together to kind of, I guess, make you as a person, as a whole person, and realize all the different aspects of you personally. Because I like on number 1 or number 5 on the principles, I'm not alone in my challenges. And I'm a very independent person. And I take things very personal. And so I guess that one struck that there are other people to help you along the road. And you got to be not afraid to ask for help when you become stressed or worried or anything like that.
You know, I was reading in something else about that, because I'm the same way, Shiloh. I'll not do any, you know, I'll not ask for help, and then I'll be totally stressed out, and then I'll be a little ticked off because no one offered. Do you ever do that? It's like, of course they didn't offer. They didn't know, or I didn't ask, or typically I don't need help or whatever, you know. So, you know, I have to humble myself a little bit and ask. And I think sometimes I feel like in my head that that's a sign of weakness in myself. And really that's the weakness, that I won't ask for help, I believe. You know, so I love that. I love that comment.
I do like the, I'm sorry. I was going to say on page 31, I really like the wording, I guess, there, the little dialogue. I think that's a great one. Need to post that somewhere.
Which one, the OG stuff, or read the section?
Yeah, it says, for the prizes of life are at the end of each journey, not near the beginning, and it is not given to me to know how many steps necessary to reach my goal. And then it goes on to talk about failure. Never know how close it is unless I turn the corner. Just take a few more steps. It's on page 31 in my book. I just like the quotes. I think it's a good one.
Yeah. I think we are too unwilling. Let me rephrase that. I think that we are not comfortable enough with failure.
I'm not.
None of us, you know, that's how we're taught. And the head of my husband back there. Let's make it something. I think we're taught that failure is a negative thing. And, you know, every story that he shared here, there was a pretty significant failure for him. Maybe it wasn't necessarily caused by him, but, you know, if we looked at it as failure, but he learned a lot from each of those failures, I think. And not every story, but a lot of the stories were about that, you know, where he'd lost his money, or he'd, you know, a lot of things went out of control. Maybe he hadn't planned well for them, or, you know, all the different things that went on in this particular section of the book. But that an opportunity came after from that failure. It's like the phoenix growing out of the ashes of failure. But
I was going to add to that in the Healing the Bruises of Failure section that I think it's from Og Mandino, because it's one of the scrolls that you have me listen to on YouTube, but about how, you know, you just have to remember, it talks about laughter and how you should laugh at your failures. But then it has these 4 words, this too shall pass. And that's something that I've been trying to say to myself, you know, whether it's something I think is a huge thing and it's stressing me out, I just tell myself it will pass. It's fine. You know, it's not that big of a deal, but I like that one too.
Sarah, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was wondering, you keep talking about these scrolls, and I downloaded it on my phone. And what are you talking about on the scroll part?
There's a section, the italicized section in here, and it says Og writes. Those are pieces of, he wrote, how many scrolls? I can't remember. A bunch of scrolls. And you can go onto YouTube, actually, and listen to them. But if you have the book, there's like Shiloh, you have the book. There's a DVD in there, and it's the scrolls. But you can find them on YouTube, and you can just look up Og Mandino scrolls. And each scroll addresses a different topic. And it's they're usually about 5 minutes long. And you can find Og where Og reads them to you. And they're just words of wisdom on different topics. So like Jamie was talking about, when things get tough and you say, this too shall pass. I believe in that scroll. It also talks about the good things will pass too, you know? And those are high and low places, but really where we're at in our life is kind of here, but there's always going to be these and high points and low points. And you don't want to get too addicted to the high points or too caught up in the low points, because then life isn't very satisfying, because we're in a that's not where we're at most of the time. But if you look on, I believe, are the scrolls in here? I haven't made it all the way through the book, you guys. So
I don't know either.
Okay. Well, I don't think they're laid out in here, but there's pieces of them. But if you go to YouTube and look up Og Mandino, Og, and then his last name's Mandino, scrolls, you can find his scrolls and listen to those. And I a lot of times will give my clients one to listen to when they're struggling with something. And when I went through the Og Mandino Institute and was coached by my coach, Doug, and he would give me a scroll to listen to every morning and every night. And it was on a different topic depending on where I was maybe struggling. And one scroll was on being consistent, and one scroll was laughing at yourself and being, and finding happiness in your life. And they're all really wonderful, but it's all about listening and programming your mind, because your mind is a computer and it's programming those positive things in there. So take a look at them, Sarah. There's some really good ones in there. I think one of my favorites is I will greet this day with love in my heart. And that scroll is all about loving everyone, even your enemies, and how to do that, and how to be empathetic to someone, how to put yourself in their shoes. I think he talks about that. That's one of my favorites. So it starts that way. Hi, Sandy. How are you?
Hi, good.
Good. You got anything to add? Was there a story that you liked?
No, I didn't really get a chance to finish it.
Okay.
And I just got home, so that's why I'm late.
Well, I'm glad you're here.
Thanks.
Anybody else have anything to add?
It's good so far.
Yeah. And like I told Jamie and Shiloh, he uses stories to teach. And I've gotten, it's really powerful to hear him share these stories, but he does use them. So you'll have stories throughout, but it will get meatier as we go. So we're thinking next week, let's read to section, what did I say? We're going to read in the next section, The Art of Connection. And let's read through Victim or Victor, read through that section. It's about 35 pages. And I really want you to think about, as you're reading, what you can apply, what principles you're hearing, and what it means to you. Because we really want to be able to take this stuff and apply it to what the areas that we're trying to grow and learn from. So really think about why is this meaningful to me? Some of it may not particularly resonate with you, but if there's a place that does, make note of that, because I think those are the things that we're going to really want to share together, and it'll be fun.
Sounds good.
All right. So how's everybody doing? Everybody having a great summer?
Busy.
You teachers, are you enjoying your time off?
What time off, right, Shiloh?
Are you already doing stuff to get ready for school?
Yeah.
A friend of mine just told me that her mom starts in 2 weeks because they live in Arizona, so they don't take the whole summer off because it's so hot. It's better for the kids to be at school. So,
Wow. Yeah.
So she was getting ready to go back to school. Ugh. But anyway. Yeah. All right. So we're going to meet next Monday again, and be ready to share some insights for yourself. If you haven't had a chance to catch up the reading, go ahead and do that. And we'll plow through this baby. But if you get a chance to go on YouTube and listen to, I'll try to put a link in the develop my person Facebook page, and so you can just click on it. So I'll try to do that. And the other thing is there was another I'm listening to another podcast that I really, really enjoy. It's only about 5 or 10 minutes long. It's called Quote of the Day. I think, Jamie, you listen to that one too. Mm-hmm. And there's some great stuff in there. If you want something that just quick, that is motivating to you to get your blood going in the morning, I would highly recommend that. And then it's clips from a lot of different talks. And so then you can go in and listen to the whole talk if you really love it. So it's called Quote of the Day. And it's a little podcast that comes through. And it's just today was great. She talked about getting, did you listen to today's, Jamie?
No, I haven't.
It was really good. Really enjoy the gal that, I can't remember her name. I'll post it for you, but I really enjoy this gal. But she talks about she was really having trouble getting out of bed because life was kind of kicking her in the pants, And she developed this she developed this system where she goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and she just does it, whatever it is. And it started out just getting out of bed. Mel Robbins is her name. Courage is what you need every day is what the title of it is. It's really good. And she talks about any things that maybe hold us back because we start mentally thinking through them too much. But we know if we do them, they're going to be a great thing for us, or they're going to help us. If we just say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and just jump in, it's kind of like jumping in a cold pool where if you think too hard about it, you're not going to do it. So I'll post that one for you too. It's really good. So, all right. Any questions, ladies? Okie dokie. All right. Well, I will see you next Monday. It's been great seeing your pretty faces.
Okay. Thanks, Terry. Bye.
Hey, we should probably